Welcome to Life Reshapers. You're here because you feel you've got more potential, you want to reshape your life and become the best version of yourself. So my goal is to find people that can inspire you to live up to that potential, to reshape your life and create a world that you design. My guest today has had hit records all around the globe. Her dance anthem Everybody's Free topped the charts in the UK, Europe and became a Billboard Top 40 hit. Billboard magazine ranked her in the top 100 dance artists of all time. She was signed by the same record label as Michael Jackson and was chosen by Michael to open the shows for his European Dangerous Tour. She continues to release music and performs on some of the biggest 90s shows in the world today. Please welcome my guest to the show, someone that I have the absolute pleasure to call my friend, the absolutely beautiful Rozalla.
Hello, Marcus. How are you?
Yeah, very good, thank you. How are you doing?
I'm very well, thank you. So you want to know a little bit about my life and how I started and stuff like that. Well, I'll go back to where I was born in Zambia. I was born in Zambia and I grew up in Zimbabwe. And all my life I knew I wanted to be a singer. My real father, who I didn't know very well at all, in fact, I met him much later on in my life when I was about 19. I believed he was a singer. He was in a band. So when people ask me, you know, who's the singer in your family, I can only attribute it to being my real father. But, you know, so that's where that came about. And all my life, I just wanted to be a singer. You know, I loved watching people like Dinah Ross. I wanted to be Dinah Ross with the long flowing hair, you know, Aretha Franklin and the notes that she could hit. You know, there's some African artists I also love, Letambulu, Miriam Makeba. And I love listening to Barbra Streisand and the Jacksons, you know, the Jacksons, the Jackson 5, Michael Jackson. So I grew up listening to these people and all different artists that I can't remember the name of. And, you know, I really knew in my heart I wanted to be a singer when my aunts would have birthday parties, or my mom and dad would have, you know, guests come over for lunch or dinners or stuff like that. And they'd be like, you know, Rozalla, sing, you know, when everybody was warmed up and had I guess a little bit of alcohol in them. And then I'd sing and they'd all say, my gosh, she can really sing. She can really sing. And so getting that encouragement is the way I look at it. Told me I can sing. I've got a good voice. These people can't just be saying these things. And, you know, my dad, who's since passed away, believed in me. And, you know, he got me onto doing children's television programs in Zambia. And
Wow.
then I remember when I was about 13 or 14, he had a friend who played in a band at Hotel Intercontinental in Lusaka, which was a very, you know, classy event to go to. People would sit down and have dinner, and then the band would play, and then they'd have a performer come on and do their 2-hour set, but break it up into an hour or 45 minutes, I can't remember. And my dad said to his friend, look, my daughter's a singer, can't you get her on, you know? And he's like, well, we can do her a 2-week stint, you bring her, you look after her, but we can't advertise her because she's underage.
Wow.
So yeah, so they didn't advertise me or anything, and I did every night for 2 weeks a 45-minute set with the band, and it was just unbelievable. That, I think, was my first time performing to a sit-down audience, and it was just nerve-wracking. It was surreal. It was exciting. And then, you know, my mom's who is Zambian, my father's Zimbabwean. My dad wanted to move back to Zimbabwe. It was 1980, so we moved from Zambia to Zimbabwe. So I feel I have both my feet or either foot in one of these countries, in Zambia where I was born, and in Zimbabwe where I spent my formative years. And my dad's Zimbabwean. And there was a guy that heard I was a singer. His name was Boyki, and he had a band, and he's like, look, we're looking for someone to front the band. And I think I was about 17 or 18 at the time. And I said, yeah, you know, why not? So I joined this band in Zimbabwe. We went around the country performing covers by different artists. And then I thought to myself, I need to make a name in my own right. I can't keep doing other people's songs, you know. But when I look back now, there's always a progression of things and a stepping stone, if you will, to get you to where you want to go to. And I did this with this band, and then I noticed there was a talent contest going, and I joined the talent contest, and I won all 3 of the hits of this talent contest. And I had a friend who played guitar for me, another played piano. So it was myself and a musician and just my voice. So I won all 3 of the hits, and the prize was a recording contract. So can you see, Marcus, how these, how if you want the law of attraction,
Of course,
leads to these things bit by bit, because you think it, you dream it, you want it, you speak it. And I wanted to be a big international recording artist. So it started for me from Zimbabwe.
Amazing.
And I won this talent contest, which was a recording contract. And I started recording some material. We released it in Zimbabwe, and then I became this hit sensation. You know, there was a radio station called Radio 3, which was, I guess, the equivalent of BBC Radio 2 or BBC Radio 1, which are massive here, you know, and they were playing my songs, and I became this massive hit sensation.
That's incredible. And can I just say as well, Rozalla, like you mentioned, obviously the law of attraction, but obviously by the sounds of it, from a very young age, you was very determined, and you was obviously working very hard towards that goal becoming a manifestation. So, you know, like you say, the law of attraction does work by your dreams and goals. But I always say this to in all of my videos, you know, the law of attraction's foundation for me works as you have a desire, and that desire is what you want to become or what you want to achieve, but you have to take massive action, and then you have to achieve any. So I think it's always a point that I always like to throw in of like anybody that's had dreams and goals and desires to follow those dreams, goals and desires, and have manifested things into the life. But there's a big part of that, and that's the action that he was taking. That's the gigs that he was doing. That's with the bands doing the cover stuff. And I know this from doing cover shows myself in my journey. That is not an easy job.
No,
that is not an easy job. Yeah.
It's not an easy job. And, you know, but fortunately the band members, you know, I guess because I was a young girl, and my parents were like, look after her, and the band leader Boyke was so much older than all of us, and he took us under his wing, and we, like, you know, I guess his children. So I was really well protected, but it was hard work, and I experienced that from a very young age in Zimbabwe. And I guess you could say it was my apprenticeship that I went through for things to come.
Yeah. I love that.
Then,
I love that, Rozalla. I love that word. It's an apprenticeship, because I think, especially in the music industry this day and age, because of the nature of like the TV shows, and a lot of people think that they go onto a TV show and then they're a hit overnight. You did it the real way, and like you said, you did the apprenticeship, and that's why you've had such a long career. So I just want to ask you this: like, obviously you grew up in Zimbabwe, you was doing and Zambia, and you was doing these shows from a very young age, and then you won the talent competition, and that was all happening in Africa. So what was the point you came from Africa to the UK? Because there's a very big difference in becoming a sensation in Africa and then becoming a sensation in the UK, and then becoming an international sensation. Like, that's just incredible from this young girl with a dream in Africa.
Well, you know, Marcus, I was on fire. I just wanted to be an international recording artist. And, you know, I guess having recorded stuff in Zimbabwe that was doing well for me, it was like a domino effect. Whoever saw me or watched me on TV or watched me perform live offered to help me. I had some people who watched me at the local broadcasting station. I remember Danford Denga and John Matindi, who was the radio DJ of the time in Zimbabwe, supported my stuff on the radio. And Danford Denga, who worked at ZBC, he came up to me, he's like, you know, I really support you. I can do some videos for you. I'm like, really? So he did my first videos that I'd ever done, you know, in Zimbabwe. And then they were showing them on a musical program, which was like the equivalent of Top of the Pops in Zimbabwe. Wow. And they were showing my videos. I was singing live on TV. And then there happened to be an English producer that was visiting Zimbabwe, and he saw my stuff on TV, and he got in contact with John Matindi, who was a radio DJ, who happened to be friends with this guy, and he's like, yeah, I know Rozalla really well. She's a good singer. He's like, make an introduction because I own a recording studio in Wolverhampton. I was like, oh, okay. So I met this guy, and he's like, said, look, I've got the studio. I believe in you. You're really good. Let's try and, get something together. And at the time, like I said, I was signed to this local radio station, record company. And we went to have a meeting, and they're like, we believe in Rozalla. Let's try and make her dream come true and make her become an international artist. So this record label in Zimbabwe bought me 3 of my air tickets because I didn't have the money, to afford air tickets. And they bought me 3 of my air tickets to travel to the UK. And I came to Wolverhampton and started recording stuff in the studio. And we started sending round cassettes. At the time, it was cassettes, to all the record companies, I guess, across the world. And I remember one of them was Arista. And Arista at the time were massive.
Yeah, I remember
Arista. Yeah, Arista were massive. And they sent a letter saying, yeah, she really got a good voice. We're interested in her. And honestly, Marcus, within the same breath, another letter came going, actually, but we thought about it. We're not interested. So no, So I got a lot of rejection, from record companies. I can't remember all of them, but Arista just seemed to stay in my head because I guess I remember reading this letter with my own eyes and just had a sinking feeling. I just had, sorry, my husband keeps trying to call me, so I'm cutting him off. and and I had this sinking feeling, that the rejection was lousy. Then I was flying back and forth to Africa and, coming to England. So this all started happening for me late 1988 when I first came to England, 89. And then my cassettes happened to land on the lap, so to speak, of the band of gypsies. That was Tim and Nigel. And they loved my voice. They arranged a meeting with me. And we love your voice, Rozalla. We could write some songs with you. We could work together. And we had a great meeting, and they asked me what I want to do. I said, look, I'm from Africa. I want to do songs that are, have positively charged lyrics. I want songs that got a great piano sound, a great bass line. I want, when the songs are played, I want them to feel like they can stand up and dance, put their hands in the air, or even just sit down and tap their feet or smile or have a really good feeling inside them. Therefore, the whole album and the song came about, which is called Everybody's Free to Feel Good.
I think everybody knows that song as well.
Yeah.
I think if somebody doesn't know that song, they've been living under a rock somewhere. So, and I can personally say I've seen you perform live many times. I've been backstage with you, and you just exude this unbelievable energy when you're on stage. And I think, I love the story of that song. I love the fact that the intention was to have this positive energy from day one, and that positive energy has just stayed there, obviously, for all of these years. And, I feel like I've obviously known you for a good few years now, and I consider you a very good friend.
You're my brother. You're black.
Even a second wife. Even a second wife. That's the way we're going.
Exactly. Second wife. You've heard it here.
Heard it here first.
But, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but the thing is, it's incredible to watch you still, and obviously I didn't know you back then. 1989, I was 9 years old. So giving away your age, you look incredible. You look incredible as always.
Thank you.
But the thing is, every time I've seen you perform live, it's as if it was just like you was performing back then. You just have this incredible youthful energy that lights up the room. I know this, and I don't want to make you big-headed, but whenever you walk, I always say this, you're like one of the queens of the 90s dance music, because when you walk in a room, you do just light up a room, or you walk on stage, just light up an audience, and it's an amazing thing to watch, actually.
Thank you, Marcus. Now I really am big-headed. Sorry. Here we go. Thank you so much. Marcus, I love performing because, I come from a place of gratitude. And my gratitude has grown more and more because, as you know, we're in a tough industry.
Yeah.
We're in a really tough industry, and even though, you know, Everybody's Free, Faith in the Power of Love, Are You Ready to Fly, became such big hit songs for me. And thank you, God, till today, they sustain me. Everybody's Free has just turned out to be one of those songs that has been re-recorded, continues to be remixed. DJs across the world have continued to play it on the stations. You know, contestants on talent shows have chosen it to be the song that they choose to sing, which has been amazing. So I believe through that has helped to keep the profile of the song raised. And then, of course, you know, the fact that I'm booked so many years later to go out and perform it live tells me I'm still wanted out there. So I'm so grateful. I'm so thankful. And it's the same, you know, make hay when the sun shines. Because also there was a period that I went through when the boy bands and the girl bands all started happening. And I came from a place of doing anywhere between 5 to 7 club dates in a week. You know, that's how I earn my living. That's how I still earn my living. And when the boy bands and the girl bands started happening, and then I was dropped from my record label, everything just seemed to start going wrong, you know. And I was lucky if I got one club date in a period of 2 months, you know, and I just moved into my flat. I had a mortgage, and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, is this the end of my career, you know? And how can this be? I mean, I've had hit singles. I supported Michael Jackson, the biggest star in the world.
I just want to talk. I want to talk about that actually, Rozalla. I want to talk about because obviously, like you say, you come to the point of you've gone through a career and then you've ended up in that situation where you are having self-doubts. But before that happened, I do want to actually step back a little bit into, because that is for me, that's an incredible story that you was part of the Michael Jackson tour. Now, no matter what anybody thinks of Michael Jackson these days or any opinions that people have, you can't deny, it's an undeniable fact that he was and will remain to be one of the biggest stars the earth has ever or probably will ever see. So
that's right. Michael Jackson, to me, you know, as my grandmother would say, he helped my granddaughter. He helped my granddaughter's career. He helped me. And I will always believe, Marcus, until the day I die, that was one of the biggest highlights of my career.
Yeah, of course.
To support, in my opinion, the biggest star in the world, who was Michael Jackson.
At the height of his fame as well.
At the height of his fame. I mean, who was bigger than Michael Jackson at the height of his fame? Even till today, there is no one as big as Michael Jackson. He was a human god, you know, and how that gig came about, I just signed to Sony, and Michael Jackson was signed to Sony as well. And so that in itself was just surreal to me, to be signed to also one of the biggest labels in the world, you know. And I thought, I'm happening. You know, I just
label mates with Michael Jackson.
Yeah, exactly.
Thing,
this is happening. You got MJ on the label, and so many massive artists, and I'm in amongst these people. I was like, smiling, and then Michael Jackson was about to embark on his last tour, sadly, which was the 1992 Dangerous Tour, and I was told from the label that Michael was looking for artists, or an artist that was doing well across Europe, that had really pumping up-tempo dance tracks. And they sent him cassettes or VHS cassettes or whatever at that time, early 90s. And I happened to be in the studio in New York, at the offices in Sony, and you know, making plans and working on my album for Sony. And I got a call when I was in the offices at Sony in New York saying, you need to get back on the next flight tomorrow because Michael has chose you personally. So you need to come back ASAP and start rehearsals. I was like, I think I went to sleep at the airport.
Rozalla, I know you. I can just imagine your reaction. I can imagine your screaming reaction. Right?
Oh my gosh. I tell you, I screamed so much, Marcus. I thought somebody was pulling my leg and lying. I remember I asked somebody to use their phones at the Sony offices to call my mom and tell her. And I mean, you know, I don't think anyone spoke. It was just a lot of screams. So if you can make out words from screams. So I got back on the flight. I came back to London. We started rehearsals. And I think I cannot remember for the life of me which was the first stadium. I cannot. I think it probably was in England at Wembley Stadium.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is
Yeah.
incredible. Incredible. What an incredible journey, like, you know, from such a young girl with a dream to having hit records around the world to, you know, not only just hit records, but, you know, a hit record like Everybody's Free, that is such an iconic tune, like,
Yeah.
you know, even to this day, it's almost ageless. I know from when I DJ, whenever I drop Everybody's Free, the crowd just goes crazy. And I've seen the crowd
Wow.
singing that back to you. Like, you know,
It's incredible.
a magical moment. And to go on, you know, to tour with an artist you've admired from a little girl, being one of the biggest artists in the world, you know, it's just this story is just such an amazing, inspiring law of attraction story. And you use the word gratitude so much, and again, I want to pull people up on that. Is like, gratitude goes such a long way when we're just grateful for the things in our life. So Rozalla, so you've gone through this whole journey, and you feel that you're on top of the world, and you've toured with Michael Jackson, and you've, you know, been this international superstar almost, and it's like, it's just an incredible journey. And then you was talking about, like, it was kind of, obviously you was at a point, obviously after that journey of being in a situation where you wasn't feeling as relevant anymore. So I'd like to just know, like, how did that feel, and you know, what brought you back from that to obviously where you are today? Because obviously there's a story there that maybe some of your fans don't even know. So
well, absolutely. Well, as I was saying earlier, you know, I've signed to the biggest label, supported Michael Jackson. I was doing anywhere between 5 to 7 club dates a week. I just bought my first flat, had a mortgage, and then, you know, the girl bands and the boy bands started happening. And then I was lucky if I got one club date in a month. I'm not blaming the boy bands and the girl bands, but it was just too coincidental that, you know, this was going on. And then I was dropped from the Sony label. I didn't have a contract anymore with the record label, so that was a bit, you know, sore as well. And I'm thinking, what's going on? You know, is this the end of my career? And also during that time, I met who is now my husband at the time. And when I met my husband at the time, I was traveling quite a bit, and I thought, you know, if I keep traveling this much, you know, it would be difficult to sustain a new relationship, I suppose, you know, is what I thought. But then all that sort of more or less stopped. It gave me time to get to know my then boyfriend, who's now my husband. And it wasn't a very nice period because it was a bit scary. You know, how am I going to earn my living? I've got a mortgage, I've got bills to pay. And then, you know, my husband's like, look, if this whole thing ended, you know, what would be the worst thing that could ever happen to you? I'm like, well, to lose my family and my friends. He's like, exactly. Keep your eye on the most important ball here.
yeah,
And that's my family and my friends. You know, they help, they're here with me, I'm here with them. And the career thing, the singing thing is important to me as well, yes, but it's not the all. It's another facet, another side to my life. And he says, and look what's important, you know, if you never had another hit single again, would that end your world? Absolutely not. But, you know, Marcus, I coming back from there, I was having hit single after hit single after hit single. And you sort of get used to that, you know, and people like looking at you like you're some goddess, and you're like, ah! And then suddenly you know, the carpet is pulled from under your feet, so to speak. And then Alan said to me, you know, so you're not caught completely off guard. Think of taking up another career, or what is it that you love? And I thought, well, I love the feeling of when I come out of a salon and I've just had a body massage or a facial or whatever. You feel just a little light and happier. And I thought, I want to make people feel like that, you know. So I took up a beauty therapy course thinking, you know, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to open up my own salon. I'm still going to push and do the singing career and whatever. But if this is over, I'm not going to be, you know, staring at a blank wall with nowhere to turn. I'm not going to let that happen to me. So I took up a beauty therapy course. I'm now a qualified beauty therapist.
Wow.
Yeah, and then during that time, I also got married. And I think to myself, fast forward and you look back, had all that not happened, maybe I wouldn't have had been able to sustain my relationship. I wouldn't have been able to smell the other roses, so to speak, from the garden. There's always a purpose and a plan why things happen the way they do. And then when all that was going on, the club dates began to, trickle back in slowly but surely. People never ever stopped wanting to work with me, i.e. as in recording. So that part I continued doing, and we'd release material to the underground club scene. So that in some ways sort of sustained me. The DJs on the radio never stopped playing Everybody's Free, and I guess that also kept the profile going and the water running in a small way, if you want to speak. I look at our lives as like we're a stream of water trickling, and sometimes it gets small and then we go into a big ocean, and life is an up and down thing. As long as that water is moving and there's no blockages, we'll always be okay.
Rozalla, you just speak with such spirituality, and it just in you, it just oozes out of you. It's just this belief in love and life and fun, and the fact of you talking about going through that period of time of where you was away from being the pop star and you was becoming a wife and just doing normal things. I mean, I'd love to be the person that just came in and was like, Rozalla's giving me a massage for the day. That's just incredible. Imagine if your fan base knew you was doing that. You could have been that. Hang on, we've lost her.
There we go.
Well, I was going to say, imagine if your fan base knew you was doing that. You could have had a queue up to the other end of the street. That's just incredible. But from that, Rozalla, then, because obviously I don't want to keep you for too long, and I really appreciate your time. And I know that you're holding a phone in your hand, so your arm must be killing you right now. And
am I shaking? Is it?
But yeah, I do appreciate you doing this. Obviously, as I said, you are my first interview of hopefully many people. But I wanted to do this with you first because I remember being on a plane with you and actually talking about this to you maybe a year ago. And here we are doing this interview. So I've been a little bit excited and a little bit nervous about doing this. And, I just want to try and give some value to the people that are going to be watching this. And not just people who want to be musicians, but just people who want to be inspired by the story. Because if you want to be a builder, or you want to be a bus driver, or you want to be a bin man, you want to be a pop star, I think it's just having that process of finding that inner love and that inner desire for what it is you want to do. Know that you're going to, know that you're going to have to put some work into that and take some action, and just believe in it, and just know wholeheartedly that, as you've said, there's other stuff as well outside of that. And I've personally been on that journey myself, where I thought the music industry was everything, and it was only ever going to be everything. And you put it before everything else in your life. And then you do step back sometimes and you look in on it all and go, well, actually, my health is so important, my family, my wife, the people. And I feel the same way. Had my career not panned out the way that it did, I didn't quite have the career you had, but I had this crazy journey in the music industry. But had it have gone another way, I maybe would have never met my wife, Liz. And obviously, Liz very well. And she's
love her. First wife.
Beautiful human being. Yeah, my first wife. She's the first wife until we met you, and then everything changed. So
second wife.
This is becoming a thing now. We're going to have all the other artists jealous of what's going on here, Rozalla.
You're going to get a third and a fourth wife now. They're all going to want to join in.
They're all going to join in, yeah. It could be just crazy mass wives of the 90s scene. So.
Exactly.
But the thing is, Rozalla, like I say, to wrap this up, obviously you've had this incredible journey and this incredible story to your life. I've had the pleasure to meet your husband, who's also an incredible man, incredible human being.
Thank you.
And you've gone through the down times. You've gone through kind of I guess, an evolution of finding
Yeah,
other things. You know,
that's
as
right.
you said, you know, finding the smell of other roses out there, and so that's brought you to this point of. I know you said that the gigs started to trickle back in. I mean, I think up until this crazy time in the world right now, I think the gigs was more than trickling in. I think it's been incredible.
Yeah,
I've been watching your journey, and I've been on some shows with you, and some of these shows have been, you know, unbelievable, and the beyond
yeah,
gigs, you know, festivals of
mind blowing. Yeah,
thousands of people all over Europe, you know,
yeah,
and as I say, I've been on some of those shows and stood backstage and watched you and seen and seen the way that that crowd reacts to you, and it's like it's as if you were still topping the charts today, the way that people
incredible.
sing that song. I mean, I know
Yeah,
you've got more hits than Everybody's Free, but I think Everybody's Free is such an iconic track.
it's the one. Yeah,
Yeah, it's you know, I mean, I have to say I love Everybody's Free, and if but when people ask me is like, what's your favorite Rozalla song, and it's a pretty obvious thing to go Everybody's Free, but I absolutely love Are You Ready to Fly. I have
oh
to say,
wow.
I absolutely love it. So yeah.
Dedicated to you next time, Marcus. Now I know.
Yeah. Listen, I hate to say this because I have this conversation with you guys sometimes, but like those songs was my school disco songs, so it's like, you know, that it's some amazing memories for me.
Yeah,
And one thing I do want to say to you before we wrap this up, I actually was in the Sony offices a while back, and
yeah,
just these audit as you go around the kind of walkway to the canteen, there's like this like almost wallpaper stuff that is everywhere, and it's just got the names
yeah.
of artists everywhere, and there's just something like some of the most iconic names in the music industry you've ever seen on this wall. And I was just
Wow.
walking along to get my dinner, and there you was, Rozalla, on, on,
Oh my
on the
gosh.
wall. Like, yeah,
Oh
so
wow. I wish you'd taken a picture.
I think I
Oh.
did. I think I did take a picture
Oh,
of
you
it
need to look for
somewhere.
it,
So
Marcus. You need to look for it.
I'm gonna have a look for that. Yeah, I'm gonna have a look for it.
Yeah.
So from all of that, Rozalla, you know, thank you so much for your time. But what's next? Because obviously, right now we're in this crazy time. So I guess it's a weird thing. But I know you've been working on
Yeah.
material. So one thing I'd just like to give you the opportunity to do before you do go today is just tell us like what you're doing now, what your plans are moving forward. Let's just imagine the
Yeah.
world as normal for a second.
Yeah. Yeah.
That'd be nice. And you know, where can people find you? Where can people find you?
Yeah. Well, currently I'm excited to say I've got a new single out called Magnificent. Obviously we weren't able to do a video because of the quarantine and the lockdown, but Ash Stanley, who you know as well, Avid Media, kindly did for one of the mixes, a retro tech mix, a lyrical video. Fantastic. So that's, you know, been picked up so far. I think Magnificent was released about on the 4th of May. That's about 2 weeks ago or so. And I think it's been picked up by about 80 or 90 stations. It's been playlisted on. I've been busy nearly every day doing Zoom video calls and interviews and radio interviews. So in some ways I've been kept busy. I've been doing about a few virtual performances at home for, you know, charities, mainly to raise finance for the NHS. And I did one for the Let's Rock festivals, which, as you know, are massive festivals. They have anywhere between 10 to 25,000 people turnouts. And the guy who did this Let's Rock thing about a week ago or so, they asked me to do a virtual performance, and they mixed it quite well and made it look sort of semi-professional. So even though my husband sort of filmed me singing it in our back garden, it came out looking quite all right. And that was to raise money for child bereavement. And it was on YouTube. It was shown on Facebook. And basically whoever tuned in came up to about 2 million people watched it.
Wow.
Which was incredible about a week ago or so. And they raised about £130,000 in a matter of 4 hours, which was wonderful. So I'm doing things like that whilst we're in lockdown, and it's keeping me occupied, and i.e. doing this interview with you, which is fantastic. So, you know, we had one more last song to record for my album. So I've got an album coming out sometime in the near future.
Okay, amazing. And Rozalla, that's why I want to say thank you so much once again for your time, because I know how busy you've been, even in this crazy time. I know how busy
Yeah,
you've been with interviews, and people want to get hold of you left, right, and centre. I've
yeah.
even witnessed that being with you. People just want to talk to you and get a photo with you, and we just take it for granted sometimes that we've become pretty good friends over the years. But
Oh, we're family now. We're family now,
yeah,
Marcus.
what I will do is I'm going to put your links to your social media. So if have you got a website or specific? So obviously
Yeah, well,
Facebook and Instagram.
yeah, we have people can follow me either. I don't have a website. It's now defunct. It's still out there, but it's defunct. I'm my favorite is Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook.
And it's just Rozalla on those.
It's
Yeah.
just Rozalla or Rozalla B. But if you see the picture, you'll know it's me.
Yeah, but I will put the links in as well. So thank you so
Yeah,
much for
thank
your
you.
time. Really
Thanks,
appreciate
Marcus.
it. It's so inspiring. As always, it's always inspiring. So,
Thank
and
you.
outside of this interview, which we've got through, my palms are still a bit sweaty from. It's strange having to like interview you. It's like such a different way. But outside of this, it'd
Yeah,
be lovely to have a catch up again, and and just
definitely,
yeah, and
definitely.
hopefully, fingers crossed, we'll be on shows again very soon.
Oh, I can't wait. Oh, Marcus, I can't. I mean, you know, you said something a few weeks ago when we spoke, which has really helped me. You said the way you're looking at it this year, if we do any gigs, it'll be a bonus. But
Yeah,
basically, you've looked at this year as being like it's it's not going to happen. But if we do, it's going to be a bonus. And I thought that is really a wise way to look at things, so you
yeah.
don't get too devastated.
I think
And I
also
love
as
that.
well, it gives us that time to grow, like you've just said. You're working on
Yeah,
stuff, maybe finding the time to do things like, had this not be happening, maybe we wouldn't have found this time. As I said, we were sat on a plane talking about doing this interview over a year
yeah,
ago. So,
yeah,
I think it's finding that, like you said, I think that's a lovely way to look at it. It's like we find this bed of roses, and we love the look and the smell of these things. Maybe in these times we look for other things that we like the look
yeah.
and smell of as well. And I
That's
love
right.
that analogy. So thank you so much for your time, Rozal. It's
Thank you.
absolutely
Thank you,
amazing
Marcus.
to see you.
It's
I
been
will
an
keep you updated
honor.
as always.
Thank you. Been lovely to see you too. It's been wonderful. I've loved every moment. Thank you.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much. And yeah, we'll see you. We'll see you back out on the road as soon as we can.
Definitely. Definitely.
Cheers, Rozalla.
Cheers, Marcus. Bye.
Thank you so much for watching this interview with Rozalla. Make sure that you go and check her out on all social media. And as always, enjoy the journey, reshape your life, and create a world that you design. I'll see you soon.